Hi, this is Joseph Arthur. Thanks for checking out Come to Where I'm From. Please support us on Patreon, patreon.com/come to where I'm from. We are an independent podcast, and any contributions you can make are greatly appreciated. That's cool, man. Travis Warren is with us, the lead singer of Blind Melon.
And thanks for having me, man.
Yeah,
really,
man.
truly.
Thanks for doing it.
Absolutely, man.
We had Rogers and Christopher.
That's what they were saying.
And it was intense, man.
Yeah, was it?
Yeah, it was intense. It was like the whole history of everything.
Yeah, man. It's I kind of think about that often, man. It's just from that perspective. It's, you know, for me, it's a different perspective. You know, I was 15 when Shannon passed away, and I had their posters on my wall, man.
Right.
I mean, like I'm a product of the '90s.
Yeah.
You know, from Tool, I'm a huge Maynard Keenan fan.
Yeah.
To Rage Against the Machine. To you know, of course, Pearl Jam and Nirvana, all that 9 Inch Nails, Ministry, that all changed the game for me. I mean, if you remember back in those days,
Yeah.
it was cock rock, you know, on MTV. Mm-hmm. Up all night, you know, that kind of stuff.
Sleep all
day,
day.
come on.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I mean, you know, just as well as anybody, you know, dang and that, chicken and that. As soon as that came out, it just changed the music scene. I mean, It was done. It was over.
Right.
And that, you know, for me, Nirvana was like
Beatles.
our Beatles. It really was.
It
man.
really was. To me too.
Yeah, and with Blind Melon, it was really cool because there's just certain voices that I gravitate towards. It's like the first time I heard Maynard Keenan, I'm like, there was something about his voice that was just different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the same thing with Shannon. You know, he didn't sound like anybody else to me. He didn't. You know, Chris Cornell had his thing going.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Kurt. You know, of course, Eddie Vedder with the whole Seattle underbite kind of thing going.
Mm-hmm.
And then Shannon came out. I remember the first time hearing that, and it was just like, man, this is. It was like Janis Joplin and Plant, you know, Robert Plant having a baby. It was just, and it just kind of, it just caught my attention. And then so when he died, man, I was crushed. Mm-hmm. But then hearing it from the band, you know, I'm getting to a point here, you know, once I joined the band, and I was just like a sponge. Anything I could ask, man, hey, what did he wear? You know, like what did he do warm-ups behind? I was just anything I could, you know, find out about him.
You were asking those kind of questions.
Yeah, of course, man. And I mean, when I was 18, it was shitty, but I got a shitty, you know, tattoo of Shannon on my back. Like I was a diehard fan.
That's wild.
Yeah, man. Like I'm just a huge fan. I was the type of guy, man. I was like, you need to hear this band. I'm not talking about the No Rain song. You need to hear the deep cuts on this record. And then of course Soup came out, and there was a massive.
Were they your favorite band, would you say, or one of them?
One of them, I'd say.
Right.
You know, them and Tool was another one, man. You know, because I grew up with you know, Pantera. You know, I'm from Texas, so I love heavy, hard shit. You know, so Rage Against the Machine was another one. But you know, I'm also a guitar player, so I love the jam band kind of vibe with what Christopher and Rogers was doing. Nobody plays like that.
That's true.
But hearing from their perspective, and I think, you know, when you were there at the you know, the film and the release of that, you know, I caught myself, you know, looking over. You know, I was sitting next to Glenn, and I'd kind of peek over and I'd look over at CT and Raj and just to kind of see their perspective from it.
I was sitting next to Rogers.
Yeah, and it's weird to think that, man. Like, you know, I think it was kind of hard for Rogers to see that, you know.
Yeah.
And he had, like, man, I didn't. He was so close to it. He didn't really see how out of control Shannon was because they were all, you know, kind of partying, having fun.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, the difference between out of control and just regular tour partying
There it is.
shit
Yeah.
ain't a million miles. It's a real quick step from we're just a rock band touring and partying and fucking around probably more than we should and out of control.
Absolutely.
It's just your one bad decision, one night of
That's it.
maybe a little bit worse decisions away from that.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, I know you and I both have you know, dealt with that, man.
You luckily survived.
We got out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, we have. Thank God, man. Truly, man. I feel blessed over that. Like we have a lot of peers, man. Mm-hmm. A lot of friends, not just in music, but just in general, who've died from this, man. This is a real disease, man. It's and it almost took me out, man. I used drugs, for, 26 years of my life. Started 12, 13 years old, and that wasn't unique, man. All my friends did that.
Yeah.
And by the time I was 22, I was shooting heroin, and it just was a pretty slow progression. It just naturally happened. And then, went to rehab for first time at 27, and I just could not beat it. And then finally I got, I won't go too much into details, but I got blessed, last year, and, gave my life to Christ, which really, for me, it changed my life, man. It really did. And
hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Yeah. And got clean and got sober, and it's really changed my entire pathway.
And how did that come? How did you get saved?
Well, it's kind of a long story, and it's
we got a little bit of time.
I'll try to condense it as fast as I can, man. So at the end of 2017, I'd hit my bottom. As they say in meetings and stuff, you're sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, and
sometimes that bottom can have a trap door.
Yeah,
that's what they say.
Yeah, ooh, that's good. That's a song, man.
I know.
That's good.
Yeah,
so good.
But let's hope our bottoms don't have trap doors this time.
Absolutely. Yeah. But yes, so the end of 2017, I remember it being in the studio, and at that point I was, doing speed because I was nodding off, and it was just a horrible cocktail.
God, when you introduce speed into the
equation, done deal. It's
sanity is not for long when speed comes
that's
into
it
because you don't sleep.
And exactly, sleep deprivation.
Yeah, that's the worst.
It really is. It's truly the devil. But we could have a whole discussion just into that. But so I came back and got back up to Central Coast, and I got on the Suboxone program. Got sober, and I had gone.
That's like the morphine replacement type of shit.
Yeah, but
it doesn't really get you high or something.
It doesn't get you high, and you can't do dope on it
because you get sick.
You get way sick.
Right.
So it's way better than methadone, man. I mean, it's the idea with Suboxone is to do it and then get off of it as quick as you can.
Right. So methadone is like lifelong.
That's horrible. You might as well just bang dope. It's the same shit.
Yeah. If they could if they could just give you a controlled, safe-ish amount or whatever.
Yeah,
that'd be safer than methadone, right? That's the theory.
Yeah. More than heroin. You're literally just dropping one.
Yeah, one addiction for another.
It's I'm not a fan of all that. But got on the Suboxone program. I went and saw my doctor, and who now is my sponsor, by the way. And he's I'll just try to make this quick as I can, but he
no, dude, take your time.
Okay, cool, man.
Yeah,
no rush.
All right, well, thank you, man.
Nowhere to be.
Okay,
yeah,
right.
These are kind of long conversations.
Oh, cool, man.
So, yeah, just whatever.
I just I didn't want to drag on it, but
no, we can go back to talking about painted nails.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Anytime.
Yeah, cool,
when
man.
you need a safe space.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
That's good to know. But yeah, man. So I went in and saw my doctor, and he basically was just like, "Hey, man, why don't you come down to the Celebrate Recovery meeting?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll go." I had no intentions of going. I just have a hard time telling people no. And
oh, really?
yeah, and I just and he meant well, but I'm like, there's nothing those can do for me. I'm not really.
Had you tried them before?
Well, I've done NA and AA, and there's things about it that work, and I'm not against that, but I'll kind of get to that here in a little bit. And,
okay.
When I was going to meetings, I was white knuckling it. I was staying sober, but I was just like, I got to avoid that situation. I can't go out and do that because they're going to be drinking, and I don't believe in white knuckling. But I'll get to that point here in a minute. And and I have, but just to be clear, I have nothing against AA or NA, and I think it's done a lot of great for a lot of people, and it helped me for little periods of my time. But so the next day, my girlfriend Tara, she's like, "Are you ready to go?" And I was like, "Go where?" And she's like, "That Celebrate Recovery meeting." And I'm like, "I like going to that shit." She's like, "The hell you're not, get in the car, we're going." And we fought for 45 minutes all the way over the grade and go into this meeting. I see my doctor there, and he's sitting there, and Tara's on the right. And like the third song into it, man, I just, when you're a dude and you're just trying to fight back tears and just years of trauma, man, sexual abuse and physical abuse and abandonment issues and just pretty crazy background. And and I had buried that for years, man, just buried it. And all that, when the band first started playing, I'm kind of like, they're pitchy and, their timing's off, and just being that guy. And like the third song
The
into
devil in your head just fucking with you.
yeah, you don't need this.
Yeah,
Exactly.
man, these guys, man,
Exactly.
it's not even what it was.
Yeah,
probably, like,
that's exactly right. More than
dude, I got them too in my head.
yeah,
I know what they are.
that's so classic, man. And so so good. And so the third song into it, man, I start to break down.
Wow.
And just years of trauma.
Floodgates,
man. Years of abuse just came up, and I just started bawling, and no one in there judged me because everyone at some point in time had been in that very situation. And man, I left that meeting, dude. I just felt like all this weight had been lifted off.
Yeah.
And so Tara and I go home, and this part I'm about to explain to you. I know how crazy it sounds, and I get it. And if I was on the other end, and I heard someone tell this story, I'd probably like, okay, he's high, he's dreaming.
Yeah, that's the problem with like
Spirituality.
religious spirituality.
Yeah.
Because I have those similar things. Like I'm a believer in God too. And
Yeah.
I have
Things happen.
Things happen, but I'm the same way. I have that analytical mind that goes,
course.
"Oh, you sound like a religious freak."
That's it.
You don't want to sound like a religious
You
freak,
don't,
but
man.
I'm a believer too. So it's like
Amen,
that weird,
man.
yeah.
Praise
so,
God for that, man.
Yeah, amen.
Truly.
Yeah.
And, I love hearing you say that because
Yeah.
that's exactly true. We live in a world now, this culture where we get offended by, well, your beliefs offend me, and
Right.
it's this, you don't want to come off as, I'm not trying to
yeah.
preach to anyone. I'm just saying this is my testimony. This is what happened.
Right.
And I mean, look, I've got a tattoo of Buddha on my arm. Like
Yeah.
I didn't. Jesus, any of this,
I got a
just
tattoo of Jesus on my back.
yes, dude. Love it.
Yeah, man.
Dude, I love this, man.
So it's like, yeah, I'm with you.
God, this is so good,
Yeah.
man.
Even the thing like now it's like saying thoughts and prayers is they've turned that into like that's like a fucked up thing to say. Oh, thoughts and prayers. Go take your thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, of
like
course.
it's almost like an considered like an uncaring thing to say, and it's like. Yeah, for some people that would be a fake, uncaring thing to say. But for a lot of people, when they say thoughts and prayers, they mean thoughts
it.
and prayers. And there's nothing wrong with that.
There's
like,
nothing.
don't make that evil.
You're so right,
Just
man.
because some people are fake with shit.
Of course.
It's just weird.
Yeah.
But anyway, go.
No.
Yeah.
Dude, you and I could.
Yeah.
We could write an album about this kind of shit.
Call it thoughts and prayers.
Yeah. Yes.
With like 2 middle fingers. Thoughts and
And
prayers.
That's so good.
It's like, yeah.
It's so good, man. But you're absolutely right, man. And it's like, so you never want to come off preaching or anything. But,
right.
But so
and that too.
but we came
But people
home.
need help too, and people
They-
like to hear these kind of stories.
And that's exactly why I'm
Yeah,
sharing it.
yeah,
And I truly believe that, man. And
Yeah.
so, Tara and I get home like any other normal night, except I felt a lot better. And keep in mind, I was about, between 2 and 2.5 weeks sober at this point.
Okay,
I was on
so
Suboxone, but you don't,
new.
I was new, but I'm emphasizing that because it wasn't drugs, what I'm about to tell you here.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went to bed, and Tara here, it's Tesla, our dog, down by my feet.
Tesla, nice.
Yeah, and I wake up, dude, early in the morning, and I when Tara and I finally clocked, it was 6:21 in the morning. But I wake up, and my entire body is radiating the most calm, peaceful love feeling you could ever imagine in your life. Now, what I did not know at the time, which I found out later after reading, the Bible, was the Holy Spirit. Now, I didn't know what the Holy Spirit was. I thought, the only thing I knew of the Holy Spirit was I thought it had to do with Christmas or something.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know any. I knew Noah, a well, a boat. Jesus. I didn't know the story, any of that.
Yeah, okay.
And so my entire body is radiating this most. Listen, I'm an ex-heroin addict, and I thought I knew what euphoria felt like. This was, you take that and times that by a few trillion, and that's what this feeling was. And keep in mind, I was sleeping, and I wake up staring at my ceiling. I could see Tesla. Tara's over here. I'm wide awake. No dreams. This is not hypnosis. This is none of that. Because I know how the analytical mind thinks, and there's going to be viewers possibly who watch this that, well, his brother's boxing and flashbacks. No, it wasn't none of that.
Yeah.
So this goes on for several seconds, and I start to get scared because I didn't know what was happening. I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
And I ended up and I won't get too far in detail on this, but I ended up closing my eyes, and I'm telling you, man, I was taken into another world of pure light. No faces, no bodies. It didn't even appear that I had a body. It was just pure light, and I knew instantaneously that Jesus Christ was real. And I didn't feel Buddha, I didn't feel Muhammad, I didn't feel Krishna, I didn't feel shaman, Native Americans. And I'm just saying this is not any, this is just what I felt. And I knew that I was living a very selfish lifestyle. I could feel it. And it wasn't condemnation, it was just, you have lived a selfish lifestyle and you got to change. And I knew it. It was a very strange feeling, man. And there's way more to that, but I'll give
Something was informing you of this stuff.
Yes, and I believe it was God. And,
a moral a moral thing was going on in your head.
Yeah, and it wasn't like condemnation, like I'm condemning you. It was more like you've lived your life. And I was a very selfish human being. I thought, hey, I'm a good person. But compared to what? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're a good comparison, but, to God, are you a good person? According to Scripture, no one is worthy. We all are born in sin. So, but I had lived a very selfish lifestyle and everything. What can you do for me? That was always sort of the idea behind it. And so I came out of this, my eyes woke. Tara's, at this point, she's up, and I just start bawling. And I kept saying 3 things over to her. I kept saying, baby, I'm so sorry. Just bawling. And I just said, I said, everything's going to be okay. We're going to be fine. And I said, I have to give my life over to Christ. And I just kept saying those 3 things. And from that moment forward, I'm telling you, man, it was something that happened from the inside. Now, I've had 5 various experiences since that was January 20th of 2018. Now, not as intense as that first one, but each time I've woken up out of bed and it's that feeling, the Holy Spirit. But it's more importantly, and I realized, like, early on, I would put a lot of emphasis on that experience. And though that was very important, it's what came after that experience that really changed me.
Because an intense experience in and of itself isn't like gonna really do the permanent transformation. It's like if you take a psychedelic or have a really powerful psychedelic.
That's it.
It's like it can like move you in a direction, but the maintenance of it is the important part.
That's I couldn't have put it any better than that.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. You don't have the tools. So, I dropped out of school. I have an 8th grade education. I left the panhandle of Texas, a month after I turned 17, came out here to California. Like, I did not learn, okay, this is how to be an adult. This is what they call patience. This is what they call self-control. This is what they call budgeting money. I knew none of that.
Yeah,
I knew how to play a
really.
guitar, tune a guitar. That was about it. Nothing else. Couldn't work on cars, do jack shit.
I'm saying.
and so, I had to learn all of these tools.
Yeah.
And I had to learn how to live. So it was really what came after that. I think, if you talk to my bandmates or Tara, anybody that sees me on a regular basis, you don't even have to bring the spirituality aspect to it, because they've seen my heart change. It's like I can go into a dope house. They smoke crack, banging dope. It doesn't matter. I don't have any desire to touch dope or alcohol or anything.
Right.
And what started naturally happening was I started to become more empathetic and more compassionate. And then as I started reading the New Testament particularly, I was like, I would almost fall out of my seat. I'm like, dude, that happened to me. That is happening to me now.
Right.
So it was just further confirmation for me, like, holy crap. Well, once you understand that and that sets in, you go, wow, this thing is real. Like, this is real. That, for me, completely changed the ball game. And as you read his teachings, it makes perfect sense. It says, like, you don't live for yourself. You live to serve others. And by doing that, you get more, and I don't mean get gifts, but you get more out of doing for others. So when I see someone in need, and that's why I love, Celebrate Recovery. So Celebrate Recovery is a 12-step program.
And the 12th step is to be of service.
That's it. That's exactly it. So the main difference, kind of getting back to what, the AA and NA, for, AA meetings or NA, it's anything, like, this can be your higher power. Well, no, it really can't. I get
Yeah, I've never gotten that with that either.
The philosophy, I can sort of understand it.
Yeah,
but
it's just to help people who can't.
Yes, but that's the missing ingredient.
Yeah.
For me, it's like you can have the you can eat healthy and you can exercise and do all that, but if you don't, for me, and I'm not just pushing this on anyone else, the spirituality aspect is the most important. That is what, so for me, but that's the
Why
difference.
Do you think that is?
Well, I mean, we could get really deep into that, but
let's do that.
I just feel like, I just feel for me like, especially in today's culture, kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier. We are, if you read scripture too, we are we worship self. This is the age of humanism, where we don't worship the creator, we worship the creation. And it talks all about this in the Bible, about where we are and where we will be in those days. And, you can call it end days if you want. I know people get kind of scared of that, but
there's end day vibes happening.
Well,
I mean, there's at least that going. And there's end day vibes. Like, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Like, there's wild shit going on.
There's wild stuff going on, man.
Like it feels like the dial's been turned up on the spiritual war. Like, let's put it that way.
Absolutely.
If there's a battle between light and dark going on here, it feels like somebody's been edging up the dial a little bit on both sides.
That's very true, man. That's a really good way to put it. And that I'm kind of jumping around here, but that's what you just said is what it is. It's spiritual warfare.
Yeah.
Is what's happening. But
I feel that.
I think
I don't feel like that's too woo-woo a thing to say.
No.
I feel like that kind of seems obvious here. There's this battle between light and dark,
Well, to you, because you're a believer. I think for non-believers, they don't look at it that way. They're like, well, this has happened for millions of years, and this is just part of the process. But
I believe both of those things. Maybe I think there's a spiritual war going on, and I also think this has been happening for millions of years, and it's part of a process.
Yeah,
both of those things could be true.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think just a little bit different, but I just feel like we're getting further and further away from that up there, whatever you want to call it, and we're getting further into where we worship materialism. It's pleasure. It's all of those things that we're trying to seek happiness out of. For me, before I gave my life over to Christ, it was, if I buy that new guitar or that new preamp, that'll make me happy.
Right.
If I get that car, that's going to make me happy. Well, now if I get this house and my career takes off a little bit, that's going to make me happy. And it's this chase that keeps going and going and going, because we're looking for this happiness that we can't reach. And that all, by the way, is predicted in the New Testament. It talks all about that, all from Matthew all the way to Revelations. And that's what I mean, where you're seeking happiness and truth, and it's like that song, looking for love in all the wrong. That's really what we're doing. We're looking for truth and love in all the wrong places, and that's what I mean. Like, I believe
put that mic up close.
Your higher power has to be something greater than yourself, and for me, it is that up there. And I can't be a coffee cup or a chair or this and that. And by the way, if you go and look at early AA books, the early ones, it didn't say give yourself over to a higher power. It said give yourself over to Jesus Christ. And then people started getting weird religion around the 50s or 60s, and they took that out of the big book, the blue book, and replaced that with higher power.
AA's always struck me as like a Christian vibe. I've always sort of read that into it myself.
It is.
But I veer towards Jesus anyway. Like, I'm not necessarily, I don't have a thing with Jesus to where if somebody believes something else, I think, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what's up. I mean, for me, though, Jesus resonates,
Yeah, of course.
And I love hearing you talk about your being saved.
Yeah, thank you, man.
I mean, to me, it's a beautiful thing to hear, and I love it, and
that means a lot to me, man.
Inspiring, and to me, it's inspiring, And I also take what you're saying at face value and totally believe it,
Yeah.
And have had similar, maybe not quite like that experiences, but I definitely pray. I definitely ask for help. I definitely sometimes specifically ask Jesus for help, and you know what I mean. So it's like I love all that. It reminds me too of like what I read in this book by Dr. Joe Dispenza about the kinds of motivation, and how the most powerful kind of motivation is purpose-driven motivation. And it seems like when you have that getting saved experience, you go from, and the other motivations underneath it, and none of them are bad necessarily, they just aren't as powerful. Like if you're motivated by materialism, for instance, it's just a weaker form of motivation.
Yeah.
So if you have, with your dreams, like levied behind your dreams, purpose-driven motivation, then you have the most powerful form of motivation. And what it sounds like when you get saved like that, then you switch from like material motivation into purpose-driven motivation.
That's a great way to put it.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's a more powerful form of motivation. So then your whole life feels more enthusiastic.
Yeah.
And like, you know, just sort of more driven in a direction.
That's the great way to put it, and that's really kind of that is what happens. And I'm not the only one, man. You hear these testimonies from all around the world, are people having these kind of experiences, not exactly like mine, but similar, from all walks of life, man. Right. Buddhists, Hindus, atheists, agnostics, Muslims, a lot of Muslims, by the way. But it's just that. It's like, I don't care about and it doesn't mean like I don't care about making money anymore and I don't care about my career.
Well, but abundance is also like, you know, I mean, you need, abundance is not a bad thing, and abundance helps us have a more spirit-driven life, because if we don't have to be stressed about money and stuff like that, it even opens up more time to where you can give back better.
That's it.
I mean, I kind of feel like I want abundance so I can be of service more, not to say like, ooh, I'm all saintly. I want nice things too, and
of course,
a comfortable
man.
life.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also, like, I'm primarily motivated to try to give back at this point, you know, because just that seems like the most fun thing to do.
Well, brother, like what I'm so glad to hear you say that, because we kind of have similar backgrounds with drugs and things like that, and that's. You know, again, that's what the 12 steps is so amazing, is because once you complete that program and now you start seeing all these young people coming up, like people that are hurting.
Right.
Like you know, you feel the angst and the anxiety, and they're struggling with drugs and alcohol. So to help those people and to start sponsoring other people, for me, I get great joy out of that. Like, and you know, people call like, hey man, I'm having a bad day, and it's like, I know, and you know as well exactly what those people are going through, man. We've been there before. So you know, it's like when I get home, man, I'll go straight to a meeting, and I love that aspect, and it kind of keeps it's a big part of it. Keeps me grounded, man. Because you know as well as anybody in this game, man, it's so easy to get caught up in our own ego and get it's a crazy life, man. I mean, so many people look at this and just, man, that would be amazing, and no, there are a lot of great, amazing things about it. If you don't keep yourself balanced, you know what I'm talking about.
Of course, yeah. And it's just even like coming out to a little festival like this and not getting a good night's sleep the night before, or finding out like, you know, just weird things that you have to deal with. You like your diet gets all thrown off. It's like, it's just so easy to go out of balance. And you could hear somebody say that and go, oh, those are like first world problems. And it's like, okay, but it's just, to keep yourself in balance, like those kind of, I mean, and then that's just a sort of a microcosm of all of life, just because life is hard to, like, there's so much chaos in all of our lives that you have to have disciplines and things that keep you in balance and keep you in check, especially if you have the sort of, ability to go off the rails that we do.
Yeah, of course.
You know, like,
it's just so easy to do that, man. And it took me years to figure that out. You talk about discipline and things. I just didn't have it, man. And then you know, like, for example, like I can remember every aspect of this show yesterday. I mean, I'm not, no booze, I don't even smoke pot anymore. No cigarettes, doctor drugs, completely got off everything. And I can, before, I not only would not remember the show, but I would be, you know, waking up, I'd be hair of the dog. Oh God, I'd be like, shit. And put a couple of Xanax and try to find booze. And it's just a horrible, that's the wrong kind of rituals and routines to get into. And then, you know, and you're right. I mean, what happens when you go to a festival and they don't have your diet there, or your juice, your wheatgrass, you know, you can always have God here. And you know, I just think that for me, not pushing on anybody else. It has truly saved my life, and it changes you from the inside out and your heart. And so, I love to help people. If I see someone in need, man, I love that. I love to be able to be a service, whatever that is, whether it's financially, food, just talking to somebody. I get a lot, and then you get inspired from it. Then it's like, and that was the other thing too, man. For me, the last thing I battled actually was pot. For me, it was like, it's not a drug. My dad was a pothead. We grew pot growing up, and I have nothing against it at all. But I had a moment where it was like, you need to clear your head. You don't need it. And for months, I'd say 2 or 3 months after I quit smoking pot, I couldn't pick up my guitar. There was not one time I rehearsed or played without smoking pot. I needed that thing.
Yeah, it can kick off creativity.
You can.
I'm struggling right now with nicotine.
Oh man, that's a tough one.
I'm bad. Like I let the pot, whatever, what do you call it? The jewel.
Yeah.
I let the jewel back in when I was hanging out with my friend who had one, and then like even yesterday at the interview with Rogers and Christopher, I smoked his jewel. And messing around with a bit of weed too at this festival. But I'm with you though, because it's weird, because it engages all that addictive vibe again, and it's like, you know what, I was better when I was just like doing nothing. And like I want to get back on that. Like it's weird, but it humbles you too, because you think you're like way past it all, and if you just let it in a little bit, dude, it
starts sneaking in.
It sneaks in.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
that's very true. It did that kind of to me, but for me, it was, I used to go to school stoned. It was, for me, it was just the normal thing for like it is for a lot of people. I think because of the meth and shit, after a while, like I would burn it. I'd start to get a little paranoid, and it just didn't have the same feel for me.
Wait, meth made you paranoid?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. And even afterwards, like I wouldn't even be doing it. Like that drug scars the hell out of you, man, for years and years.
Scars your soul.
Scars your soul so bad, man. But for me, like I just didn't think I couldn't play guitar, pick up a guitar unless I was stoned.
Some weed.
And then couple months into it, I just started picking up my guitar without burning, and I was like, man, there's a song. Oh, there's a new song, and and it kind of took me back to, man, that didn't give me creativity. No. This is God given, and
it's a different kind of creativity. Like it's less. I find like with weed, then there's like a whole ritual around your creativity.
Yeah,
it's like this, which is not, and none of this is judgment. If
no,
that's
not
the way
at all.
You're doing it, that's fine.
Not at all.
But it's like when you are like on that real sober vibe, it becomes just creativity becomes more sort of like seamless within your day. Oh, I'll pick up a guitar real quick before I do this.
Yeah.
And boom, a song there. Like, but the end result is, I think, even more creativity when you're sober. Yeah,
and I'm glad you touched on that. Like, this is no judgment whatsoever. And there's believe me, I love weed. I love to sit. There's nothing for me, man. I'd burn one, sit with my guitar and write something. And I'd say 98% of the songs I've written in my life I've been stoned on, and there is a lot of creative things that can come out of it. For me, it was just God was letting me, like, you need to clear your head for whatever reason that was. I listened to it and I listened to him, and it's good. Now maybe one day I'll go back to burning, but for now I like to be very clear headed, and that's the other thing.
Stay with the clear, dude.
Yeah, man.
It's better because, like, I'm gonna go back to get rid of nicotine. Like, you're inspiring me to just
cool, man.
I call it the 100%er.
Yeah,
I want to be the 100%er. It's better.
Yeah,
it's just less bullshit. And it's a slippery slope or whatever.
We always hear like I always grew up and it was the straight edge. Like the punks that were just like,
put the X's on your finger on the.
And I kind of would make fun of them, but now it's like, man, they were on to something. Like they had it figured out. Like, you don't need that shit. It's like it's more of a confidence thing, man. Where like even yesterday going out on the show, man, I'm looking at people. Yeah. I'm in tune. I'm very clear-headed. Not only am I focusing on my performance, but I'm hearing what Raj is doing, CT, Nate Dogg, and Gigi. I'm listening to everybody, what's going on, and you're just more there, man. You're and again, I've had Tara tell me, I'm just super sensitive to drugs and shit, man. Whether that's a blessing or a curse, I look at it as a blessing, and for me, my mind goes a million miles an hour anyway. I don't need it, man. I like to be, focused. So, But yeah, there's something good out of sobriety. I think like sobriety is the new drug, man.
I agree.
People are kind of getting, they have that no beer for a year. I see these posts, man, and people are not drinking for a year, and it's completely changing their lives. Yeah, man. It's, a lot of times, again, this is not judging. I know people who can handle their shit. I know people who can drink, and they've been doing it. They've got a little Scottish blood in them, or whatever it is.
I got Scottish blood in me.
Yeah.
My last name's Arthur. It's from Glasgow. I got a question for you though. What happened the night before? Like the difference between when you were awakened with the Holy Spirit. Like, what was up before? Did you pray to Jesus before that? Did you pray before that, or was that like a complete moment of revelation that was revolutionary, or was there a lead up to that?
That's a great question, and I've actually thought a lot about that. That's a really good question.
Thanks.
I've kind of looked at this from different angles. I'm reading a book right now, and it kind of goes into that. Like, you don't find Jesus; He finds you.
Right. What the hell happened?
For
those of us who want that experience, how do we get it?
Well, I submitted. I fully submitted. I think when I went to that meeting, I did not know this at the time. I wasn't conscious. But what happened?
The tears that came.
When that all happened, for me, it was like, I'm done. I've tried to do it my way for decades, and it ended up in a dead end every time. Did you ask for
help right then? Did you ask? Did you?
If I did, man, I don't even know if I did, because it was such an emotional experience, man. I mean, you're talking about, years of
repression.
Trauma that I had just suppressed,
I got you.
From early on in my childhood, and that all just kind of came up. And I think for me, he'd been there this whole time. What's interesting about this is I've gone back and I had to relearn a lot of my old songs, and I'm going back, and at the time I had no idea what a lot of those lyrics were about. I had
that's the trip. I've had that experience where like your subconscious was way ahead of you.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, like, all your songs make sense.
Makes sense in retrospect. It's a very weird thing.
That's weird.
You think while you're writing, you're like, "What these words?
I'm just making this shit up."
Yeah.
Like, right.
Yeah, and it doesn't make any sense. Right. And then you go back and you're like, "Oh my gosh!"
Right.
And this whole time, I was searching for something. I didn't know what it was. I got into this. I got into that, and it just wasn't. He was watching out for me this whole time.
Yeah,
I just think he has a time. Hallelujah's right. He has a time and a place for it. And I think for whatever reason, I always put it this way. You know how like ants are very small to us. They're in the world of ants. It's all this stuff going on, and they're ingenious at what they do.
Right. They work. Yeah.
But to us, they're ants, and they can't even begin to comprehend the human mind. That is very much how God is. We are so tiny, and we get so caught up in, well, if this is not, and formula this, and we try to.
Oh, right.
It's like we are minuscule to that. He created this entire thing, so we try to put ourselves in that, but we just can't. We try to intellectualize these things, and we sometimes, I say this, it's old Charlie Chaplin, the great dictator. We think too much and we feel too little. Shut the mind up and start feeling more. And
at the same time, though, we're like these like dynamic points of we are spiritual beings. Like, we do have metacognition. We are made in His image, supposedly, and we are like, able to ascend to these like crazy places.
Well, and that's this.
But I know what you mean about the ant thing too. But then also we have this like potential that's like untethered, like that's like beyond.
It's beyond, and a lot of us don't even know that.
Right.
And I think that's what meditation is so amazing. For me, meditation and praying kind of go hand in hand. But I think that's very, very important. And I think the Hindus have really picked up on that. Like, meditating, you quiet the mind. I gotta buy this, I gotta pay that bill, I gotta do this, I've got to pick up the kids later on. Shut it off for a minute, go into a quiet place for 15 20 minutes, and these things, man, you will start to unlock, tap into something that is far greater than what we can even. But again, a lot of people have steered away from that, and I think that a lot of people have gravitated towards it too, but I think for me, I always call it the big three. You got spirituality, the pyramid, spirituality on top, the physical aspect, and the mentality. Got to be clear-headed. For me, man, like, I've had people say, you look 20 years younger now than you did in your 20s. My diet, I grew up on bean dip and Doritos and Taco Bell, sodas. That was my diet. I grew up in the ghettos and Panhandle, and
Where, in Texas?
And in Amarillo.
Oh,
and
okay.
That was very normal. And then after a while, you got heartburn, you feel lethargic, you don't feel very good. So
diet's a big deal.
It's
dude.
huge, man.
I cut out carbs, and not even to lose weight or anything. It was just more an experiment. I do a lot of research on that, and the sort of like inflammation that goes away in your body.
Oh, dude, it's
huge.
Huge.
Inflammation in your brain.
Absolutely.
And it goes away, and your brain gets all really clear-headed.
No doubt.
And it's like. Just with diet, like knocking out sugar and shit like that.
It's huge, man.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And like, especially if you're drinking and you're drinking beers, you're just pouring sugar into yourself all the time. Like,
absolutely.
You're giving yourself no chance to have like any kind of decent feeling.
You're so
no
right.
fucking chance. Like,
you're so right.
And then you wind up wondering, well, why I'm depressed. Like if you're like, why am I
brain fog?
Because you're drinking fucking sugar water, like
exactly
7 to 8 of them a night or whatever, or 20 of them, or whatever, and not sleeping, and then people get medicated, and then it's like, oh, let's get an antidepressant. It's like, what if you just didn't poison yourself, exercised, and slept properly?
That's it.
Most like a lot of people don't, and then also aren't bombarded by like media that's like feeding you like fear porn 24/7 on a drip. It's like,
you're nailing it, man,
dude. It's like, and then with no spiritual sort of grounding at all. Like, like, of course you're lost and aimless and feeling helpless and hopeless, and of course suicide is an epidemic in a situation
depression,
like that.
Anxiety,
and
all those
then
things.
if you question all those things, well, then you're a crazy conspiracy
no,
theorist.
not the conspiracy theorist word.
Like, or a religious freak. It just seems like,
you're right.
Like any kind of like movement towards like becoming healthy in these kind of ways. They're like, like you even said, like, like, oh, you're a fucking spiritual freak, or there's somehow like you're an idiot if you believe in Jesus.
Yeah.
Like
these little cultural slogans they put on people.
Right.
Well,
that feels conspiratorial. To me, to some degree, because it's like, why is there that negativity surrounding those things that don't just go in line with, oh, just pour a bunch of fucking poison into yourself and watch Poison 24/7 and take antidepressants? That's sanity.
Exactly.
That's like,
it's got flipped upside down.
That's upside down.
Well, first of all, the word conspiracy theory, that's turned into a dirty word. A conspiracy theorist, truly. All a conspiracy means is an illegal act committed by 2 or more people.
It's not even illegal. You could conspire to go get tacos.
Yeah.
Like we could conspire to go get fucking tacos right now.
It happens all day long.
It's like, 2 people conspiring to go do something to get a result.
That's it.
That's all a conspiracy is.
Yeah, and now they attach theory at the end, or theorist, and they've turned into a dirty word.
It's because it's also another way of saying critical thinking, and we're taught not to be critical thinkers, just to accept reality as it's presented to us without thinking, without using our own perceptions and our own ability for critical thinking. Why I'm attracted to conspiracy theories is because it engages the hell out of critical thinking. And critical thinking is fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't mean you believe in the conspiracy theories. It just means it's fun to think about. It's fun to consider. It's fun to question. Yeah. And more people should, and society kind of like pushes that out of us.
Of course. Well, there's a lot of truth to a lot of those. A lot of them are I got way into all that.
Yeah.
And which we could go into another story on that. But for you brought up a really good point, and that's, the pharmaceutical companies in Western medicine, it's a business.
Oh, dude, did you know Viagra was a blood pressure medication?
I did know that.
It was a blood pressure medication that had a side effect of what it does.
Yeah.
And then
we can market this.
They actually hired a marketing company to promote or invent a condition called erectile dysfunction.
There it is.
I mean, dude, think of
It's
how
insane.
evil that is.
Of
And,
course.
I mean, an erectile dysfunction happens when you watch porn endlessly, eat like shit,
course.
then
That's it.
Yeah, then it won't work because you've like fucking
It's numbed
you've
out.
like gone off the radar
That's
with
it.
like how with your sort of
Yeah.
endorphin meters are all over the place. If you don't watch porn and you eat well and you sleep well, you ain't gonna
You're
have
gonna have
erectile
those problems.
dysfunction,
Of
bro.
course.
Like there ain't no
They don't
need-
wanna tell you
but
that,
they don't
though.
want to tell you that.
Of
If
course.
you like go on a run every day, don't watch porn for like 6 months and let me see what kind of and
eat
also
healthy,
no
yeah.
fap. Don't jerk off. You
Yeah,
know? You won't have erectile dysfunction.
Yeah.
Period.
That's great. This gal is having a good time.
Okay,
listening.
good. I hope we're not going over the top.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, don't.
This gal's got it.
Don't. Well, there's a big no fap community out there. Like, have you ever messed with no fap? Like,
I don't even know.
means no masturbation.
Well, that's
No porn, no masturbation. Like,
well, now you're getting into a whole other thing. For
well,
me,
it's related though, because
it absolutely
it's
is
the addiction
related.
thing, and it's like, and I find like if I go on where I go to that degree, like where I won't do any of that. And that's the best, the most clear, the most energy, the most like, wow. In fact, a lot of this podcast got started because like I stopped doing all that.
Yeah.
Like
You had more time.
I mean, I haven't watched porn in ages, but
Yeah, good for you.
even the other thing, like,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden you have all this energy, well, in Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, there's a whole chapter on sexual transmutation, and like using your sexual energy, like, because what happens is that energy will then have to find manifestation in other ways.
It's
You know,
just
so-
another escape. It's like drugs. It's like
But
anything
you
else.
can use it as a power.
Of course.
Like,
Absolutely.
you can focus it on your guitar playing and become a crazy great guitar player.
Yeah,
instead
exactly.
of wasting all that energy.
There's no doubt about that, man.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's really funny, and not to go back to the spiritual thing, but in the world that we're in, that's normal. For you normalize those things. So
Right.
so porn is like, who
Well,
doesn't watch it?
well,
Like
exactly.
but for me,
Well, it's weird if you don't.
it's weird if you
It's
don't.
the upside down thing again. It's like to be like, I don't do that and I don't do that. Then all of a sudden,
You're
well, what are you, a
weird.
freak?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, well, really?
Yeah, what's going on here?
Why is that the freaky thing?
Of course, man.
That should not be the freaky thing.
Absolutely. Well, everything
know?
that was once considered good will be considered bad, and then vice versa. And that you're absolutely right, man.
Yeah.
That's there's we could get so far into that whole thing, but going back real quick, just to the with the medications and things like
Yeah.
that, like they don't want you healthy.
No.
The healthier
They
we
can't make
become,
money on
it's
that.
it's about money here. I mean, this is truly what it's about. And
100%.
there was a great documentary came out a few years ago called, The Truth About Cancer, and they get into this, man, and it's I don't, we need to be careful what we talk about.
No,
but,
we don't.
But
The point is, we don't have to be careful.
well, just
I mean, careful, like,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know how uncareful you want to be, but I think we should be. I think freedom of speech is under attack too.
There's no question about it.
So I'm like against being too careful. I think these kind of messages are helpful for people, and you put you under the fire to a degree, but it's a fire I'm willing to go under because I feel like this kind of dialogue
Needs
is
to
actually
happen.
helpful.
I agree with
Because
you.
and it's not like an ego thing. Because this kind of dialogue is what's helped me get my shit together.
man.
To the degree my shit is together. I'm not
Yeah.
saying it's all the way
Yeah.
together, and I'm a work in progress.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we all are.
But you know what I mean. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's there is no such thing as a magic pill. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's for me, I mean, from 19 years old,
Right.
again, you were saying a while ago, it's like because of my drinking and drugging, I was getting depressed. I was getting anxiety. I was
Yeah.
getting all these things. Well, now because of that, a side effect from my alcoholism and drug addiction, now I need to go take a pill. So from 19 years old, it was, well, here's Paxil,
Right.
here's Lexapro, here's Cymbalta, here's Wellbutrin, here's Zoloft. And None of them did anything.
Try this antidepressant for the antidepressant.
Yeah.
They have antidepressants for antidepressants.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fucking nuts.
It's nuts, man. And I kept doing this
fucking
thing.
Adderall? Are you joking?
Oh, dude.
Giving people that?
It's one molecule from meth.
Dude, it's crystal meth.
It's crystal
Just
meth.
go ahead and give people crystal meth.
Exactly.
How about that?
And it's an epidemic in
just
college,
like,
man.
You know, it's like...
It's crazy.
Dude, it's insane.
It's insane, man.
It's nuts.
And,
it really is.
But we normalize these things,
Yeah.
and then going back into porn and all that, you normalize it. So when I told you I was changed from the inside out,
Right.
those things, man, I beat off, porn, all that was very normal. Once this thing happened here, I was
Yeah.
like, I don't want to do that. That
Right.
something about it doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
And your sex life becomes better when not watching that shit, because a good buddy of
course.
mine, in
Of course it
Australia
does.
was telling me this, man. He was like saying now, because of kids who grow up on pornography, at a young age, by the time they're like 17, 18, 19 years old,
Yeah.
they have a beautiful woman in front of them and they can't get it up.
Exactly, which
They're-
is
It's bizarre.
bonkers.
They
It's
need
bonkers.
this perversion and all this
And
weird shit.
the porn thing constantly pushes more and more perversion.
Of course.
Like, oh, if you like this, maybe you'll
You
like
like
this.
this.
Oh, how about this freaky ass thing? bro?
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah, man.
And that's the nature of it.
That is.
It's like, well, I mean, porn was like, I don't know the whole. I should get this like so I could say it in a smart way, but I know that like certain countries put it out as a weapon against the public. Because
Interesting.
because it makes people shame based. It makes them afraid and puts them in their own little
I've never
bubble.
thought of that.
I mean,
That's
also
great.
you just got to consider how come endless amounts of it in HD are free 24/7, and an endless amount that keeps coming out,
$1 billion industry too,
and
man.
it's free.
And it's
And it's like you got to question yourself, like, what's up?
what's going on?
And what's the end result? It makes people, and then plus everybody knows that they're under surveillance, so it's like that keeps them in a little shame bubble, like, oh, like somebody's watched all this like crazy shit I'm into.
Yeah.
Let me like just like be quiet and shut the fuck up in my corner after I'm like in a shame spiral.
That's it, man.
And that's like half the world at least,
Yeah,
It's
and everyone's
like,
scared and paranoid, and man.
and it's like if you get rid of all that, you empower yourself, and
Absolutely.
and then you can sort of like, well, I mean, it's like the light versus the dark thing. Then you can like become a voice of the light.
That's it. That's beautiful, man.
Or at least try.
At least try, yeah.
And why not give it a college try?
Yeah.
Especially if you never went to college.
Yeah.
Which neither of us
Yeah,
did.
no, he didn't. I didn't even graduate.
I-
Didn't
yeah.
make high school, yeah.
I did graduate high school,
Oh,
but it
cool.
was touch and go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to dig deep.
Yeah, man. Well, we're artists, man.
Yeah.
It's like, for me, it was like, really? I wasn't, school for me,
Yeah.
I just wasn't interested in it. Now I love learning. It's like I just love learning the things that I'm interested in. I always loved history and things like that. But we'd burn one, and I'd just be like, let's get out of here. But yeah, man.
But so, and now everything's going really, so like, because we were reading up on y'all's history too, and as we talked to Rogers and Christopher too, going back into the band a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, you, like, there's been some sort of, like, you guys, like, got together and then split up and then got back together, and now it's, like, I'm assuming in a much vibeier space.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Like, because you just still didn't have your shit together yet before. What was the
Well, that
deal
was a
there?
big part of it. No,
Yeah.
no question about
Not
it.
that you're taking the whole thing.
If I take responsibility, man, absolutely for a lot of it. There was that. I mean, listen, man. It's like, now I can look at it honestly, and I have a little bit better perspective of kind of what went down. Grew up, just a crazy lifestyle. It was very normal to me, because that's all I knew. But I had, my dad was a musical genius. He played,
really?
yeah, he played with like Townes Van Zandt.
Are you kidding me?
And John Prine and Leo Kottke.
Wait,
and,
what did your dad do? Go for that.
Terry Warren was his name, but he was
Holy
just
shit.
he was just amazing. I mean, he smokes me under the water, under the
He
table.
better do if he played with Townsend.
Yeah,
He better
yeah,
smoke
man.
all of us.
Yeah, right.
Wait, so he played guitar?
He was a guitar player and he was a singer, man. And
Oh,
just
wow.
he taught my mom how to play.
Songwriter too?
Songwriter, and he was, what's funny about Townes is him and Townes were very similar, and my dad was paranoid schizophrenic. He was in and out of mental institutions, and I grew up with that. I'd have to go visit him, and he'd get back on his meds, and he'd be doing good, and then he'd get off, and shotguns through the ceiling, and one great story I have of my dad is he'd been in a place called CSU, which it was a mental institution, and he would call it Colorado State University, and he'd been in there for a couple years, and he got out, and I remember like the first day he was back, I remember like 6:30 in the morning, and my door gets kicked open, and he's just in his whitey tighties with the banjo.
So Dad's healthy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Dad's back.
Dad's back.
It just wasn't the same without you, Dad.
That was my dad.
Fuck's sake. Well, they gave him the right amount of pills, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, meds did sort of balance him out, but
man.
he would get off of them, and he kind of go crazy. But
Yeah.
but he was a genius. I mean, my dad could pick up a guitar and write a song. Just he'd be looking around, and he'd start talking about this lady and make a song about her or whoever, and so we just had instruments laying around and everything.
That's great.
And
was your mom around?
No, she split. She was a lot younger than I was. Now her and I have a great relationship. But she's fantastic. She plays, amazing songwriter, amazing singer, and she actually was. We're getting on track here, but she sang on a Blind Melon song on the For My Friends record, a song called Cheatham Street, which Cheatham Street is a club in San Marcos, Texas that Townes Van Zandt used to play. My dad used to play it.
So your mom was way younger than your dad.
Yeah. Matter of fact, when my mom had me. He's 18, 19. My dad was like 35, so little bit difference there. But but anyhow, so getting back with to the band, there were a lot of things there that when like traumas and different things where when you come into this, you have these insecurities. I'm not good enough. That, like you were saying earlier, that devil on your side. You suck. You're not good enough.
Or they suck.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Maybe this is.
I shouldn't do this. And
yeah.
So getting into Melon, it was a very tough situation, as you can imagine. It's not like going off.
But did it blow your mind because they were like your fucking favorite band, or one of your favorite bands?
Of course.
All of a sudden you're in that zone. Weren't you like looking like, well, how the fuck did I manifest
Of
this?
course. I mean, it's as you know, man. It's networking, and I had moved to Los Angeles with another band that I was in, and within a couple of months we got management, and within 3 months we started showcasing.
What band was that?
It was a band called Rain for Rent.
Okay.
And it was a really cool band, man. We had a chick drummer who went to Berkeley, amazing drummer. Had a violin player.
R-E-I-N-G or R-A-I-N?
R-A-I-N, Rain for F-U-R, Rent.
And it's weird because rain and then no rain. There's
yeah.
Just
I never even...
A little shade of synchronicity
Yeah.
there. But go ahead.
Yeah, so it was in that band. We moved to LA, and we just started showcasing for different labels, and it was a really good band. But we had huge choruses, but we had like 10, 12-minute long songs. We were like a jam band, but with choruses.
You didn't have any that were 3 minutes and 30 seconds?
No, and every label kind of, they eventually would pass on us. But one of the labels was Atlantic, and there was a young A&R guy there by the name of Kevin Carvel. And one day we were on the phone. He was asking me about influences, and I mentioned Shannon Hoon. And he's like, "Dude," he's like, "I know Christopher and Brad. They own a studio down in Burbank. Wishbone Studios. Would you like to meet them?" And I'm, it's rhetorical. Let's do it. And one thing kind of led to another. So, of course, when that happened, I was like, just meeting them. Like I was just floored. I mean,
stoked to
just
meet
of
him.
course, like Letters from a Porcupine, which is one of the best musical documentaries. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's just genius, man.
I haven't seen that.
So good if you can
I
find.
saw it.
It's on Blind Melon.
Oh man, it's
A DVD that came out a long time ago.
Yeah, man. And it was just, and I would study every move that Shannon would do. I just, for me, because there wasn't a lot of footage out. This is really kind of pre-internet, and I got that documentary, and I would cop his moves, and so, Kevin, going back, I'm kind of jumping around here, but Kevin Carvel introduced us, to Christopher and Brad, and we just kind of hit it off, and several months went into it, and they asked me if I wanted to sing for Melon, and I remember having a few different emotions going on. But number one was
How'd
like,
they ask you? Did they call you or did they go face to face?
Christopher, he was living in Silver Lake at the time, and he had a barbecue. And he's like, hey, why don't you come over? And my negative mind thought, okay, he's going to sort of feed me, have a few beers, and him be, because at that time they were producing my solo record, him and Brad.
Right.
But there was no funding. I had no budget. There was no money.
Oh, so you thought they were about to be like, hey, dude, we can't do it anymore.
Yeah. And so we ate some food, played some songs, drank a few beers. And I remember before I left, Christopher.
Yeah, of course.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's the devil.
Yeah.
And, Christopher and Brad kind of set me down. They're like, how do you feel about singing for Blind Melon? I was taken back. I just wasn't expecting that.
Did you go into shock?
I kind of did. I was 26, 27 at the time, and it just kind of it just hit me. I was just like, it just wasn't what I was expecting. So I had to Did you really never envision that, or did you kind of envision it and just didn't think it would happen? I didn't really envision it because at that
you didn't see that you would be like perfect for it.
I didn't, because I kind of was set on my own path, man.
I
had written a bunch of songs, and I really love what was happening. Like, Christopher's an amazing producer. I mean, I just have so much respect.
So you were jazzed about where you were going anyway.
Of course, yeah.
And then so when you got asked that, it probably was almost ambivalent. Like, wait a minute, that's a dream come true, but I'm already having another dream come true.
Yeah,
right.
And so for me, it just kind of I had one stipulation. Which is really the same stipulation today, and it was, yes, I'll do it. I think I can do it, and it's an honor to even be asked and be a part of this, and I truthfully mean that. But I don't want to just be a nostalgic band. I want to do new music,
right?
Because Christopher's an amazing songwriter. Yeah. Rogers is an amazing songwriter.
Super creative dudes.
Yeah, they are, man. And I felt like I could add something. I've been writing songs for years, and I just felt like they were a huge influence to me, and not just Shannon's voice, but the way they play guitar. So I felt like it could fit. And when For My Friends came out, the industry had already changed at that point. This was post Napster, and no one was really buying records at that point. I think for those guys, because they came out of that culture in the 90s where people were selling millions of records. You had 2 tour buses and a semi driving your gear, and those days were gone by that point. And so I think as a whole, in a collective, I think that we all had high expectations. We all thought the record was good, and we thought it was going to sell, but in actuality it didn't. And I think because of that, we sort of looked at that album like this redheaded stepchild.
It didn't, did people come to the shows, or was it
man.
It wasn't a total flop, right? I mean, maybe it was disappointing, but
well, we thought that it was a flop, or at least I don't want to speak for the other guys. I did.
Right.
It wasn't until years later where we would start traveling, or we'd go to South America or Europe or somewhere, and people were singing the songs.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening is we stopped playing anything off For My Friends.
Right.
I don't know who made that decision. I wasn't a part of that.
Yeah.
But people would start asking, why aren't you guys playing anything off that record?
Isn't that funny? Yeah, you turn your back. I've done that to albums too. Like if something disappointed me, it almost is like, nope, I'm not
going to do it.
You're not my friend anymore.
Yeah,
you really let me down.
You let me down.
Thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah,
you've let me down.
Exactly.
It's your own album you're talking
to.
It's
sort of this pity thing, but you do kind of feel like it's your child, and they went in a different direction.
It becomes the scapegoat.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you were just kind of no good.
Yeah, exactly. I think we all kind of felt that way about it, and
it's cool when the scapegoat comes back around, and it's like,
absolutely.
You know what? Actually, excuse me, I was actually kind of hot.
Yeah,
just a little before my time, maybe.
Yeah.
But now, how you like me now? When all these people keep having me in their mouth, saying that I was the one.
That's it. Yeah, man, that's a really good feeling, and I think. People would just, come around, and so now when we play for them, the title track off that record, people they sing it like they sing Change. It's to me, it's like it's sort of an anthem, and it's the closest thing that sounds like Shannon. But I think on that first album, it was like, how am I supposed to, act like Shannon? Am I supposed to? You have all these things going on.
Yeah,
And listen, man, people can be, this, man. We want Shannon, and just.
Yeah.
And so I got to the point where.
How many, did you get a lot of that? Like
in the beginning, yeah, I did. And
like people yelling that shit.
Of course,
live?
man.
How would you respond?
I would respond by grabbing a microphone and staring right at them and giving my biggest Maynard Keenan scream I could, and just not looking away. I would look at them until I made them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
To the point, like, if you're gonna come here and dog this show, get out. No one's telling you to come here.
Yeah.
Now I understand people who have.
I like that though, because it's like I've done that before too, where it's like you're like staring them down, and it's kind of just like going like, okay, I'm gonna make this as absurd as possible.
Yeah.
Like this is gonna be like as confrontational and conscious as possible. If you want to go there, I'm going there with you all the way to a place that you just did not see coming.
Without throwing fists, without getting violent. It's if you want to come here like this, with the I just smelt the fart look on your face, then I'll play with that. But I think you have to come in this with confidence. It's like,
of course,
you just have to. You can't do it any other way. But over time, one of my best friends, he started out as a fan, and he ended up being a really good friend of mine. And it's funny, he's really good friends with Nell, with Shannon's mom. Mm-hmm. And when we first started playing, Nell's like, so, Blind Melon got a new singer, and I really want you to come to the show. And my buddy Jason's like, well, I ain't going to that crap. I'm not going to do it. Out of respect, out of Shannon, and respect out of you. And Nell's like, Jason, I want you to go to the show. He's good. We need to give him, because Nell gave me her full support. Which
amazing.
Oh, it absolutely is amazing.
Well, when you think about it too, though, it just honors the hell out of Shannon.
Of course,
as much as possible.
It was like, huge. I don't know if this, and I can honestly say this truthfully, I don't know if this would have continued on had Nell not have done that. It's sort of her coming out on stage and giving her blessing and saying, listen, we've passed the torch. Shannon is not here anymore, but the music shouldn't die as well. These are great songs, and I'm not here to replace Shannon because that's impossible.
Right, and plus you're your own dude.
Yeah, man.
You're a badass in your own right.
Well, thank you, man. And it's I honor Shannon every night by going out and singing those songs, but I'm not trying to be Shannon. But my buddy Jason ended up, going to the show, and he ended up, loving it and became a big fan of my own music. But we ended up becoming really good friends, and that kind of scenario has happened a few times where people did not want to like me. They had every ounce, in their body to say, screw this guy. They kind of stuck in nostalgia. And we just kind of went them over. And I think once they realized I'm not here to try to replace someone that can't be replaced. I'm just here to try to carry this torch on because they're great songs. And I think they kind of ease up. But you're always going to get the few buttholes there that are stuck in 1993 that don't want to see this thing move forward. And there's no, you're going to get hated by somebody. You can't please them all. So,
That's true. I feel like people are being nicer though now. Like I think this whole like spirit war or whatever is happening in the world makes people nicer towards people just trying to be creative. I feel like people have lightened up.
To an extent, I would agree.
You know what I mean? Like everybody's
just
like almost like to the point, if you're doing anything creative and getting yourself on the right side of the bed up in the morning, then fair play to you. I feel like,
well, because they know it's not an easy life.
Is so tough now.
Yeah, man.
I feel like people are just like, you know what?
Well, we're also too the voices for a lot of these people. I think it's like you and I and other artists, we think are on a different side of our brains. It's like I can't engineer crap. This table, if you told me to build, I couldn't do it. And it's like. But even those people who build these tables and these things, they I feel like we as artists are a voice for those people. And I think kind of going to what you said, I think people kind of sympathize with that like a little bit, give them slack, I don't know where I was going with that, but
I think so. Just because also the the job of being a musician or a songwriter. Also because, famously the industry isn't as lucrative as it once was. So I think people understand that, and it makes everything more like, oh, they're kind of almost like, it puts artists in the class of sort of, blue collar workers
Yeah,
a little
absolutely.
bit more, like
Yes.
where there's a relationship
No doubt.
there.
Yeah.
Because like we're on the road, it's obviously like
Not easy.
unless the thing is going off.
Yeah.
Success wise, then you're staying in like and I'm not complaining.
No,
it's
not at
It's a
all.
great life, but
Yeah.
it's also people understand that it's a grind.
It's a grind.
It's a fucking hustle.
It is.
It's like anything else. So it's like.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
I think in the in the 90s and before it was self-indulgence and there was so much
Yeah.
money, and like you said, I think people now know that's even your common person who doesn't know much about music knows
that's
the
not the
industry.
vibe.
It's not the vibe anymore. And
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they kind of sympathize with that a little bit.
So you guys are working on what album number? Is it? Forgive me for my ignorance.
No.
Number 2 or number 3?
Number 2 for the new edition.
The new Blind Melon. Yeah. And they were talking about that album's like what? How far along is it?
Well, I mean, I'd say it's at least half, depending on how many songs that we have. I'm like beyond ecstatic on it.
It feels like, just from talking to you guys and being in the periphery a little bit, it feels like the band really coming into itself like full force, like because you're in a space where you are like the best you've ever been. And
there's a lot of
everybody's
contributions, I think, to that.
Grown up to a degree where it's like it's ready for its own, like identities, so to speak.
Yes, I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, that definitely, for me, that I'm in a different headspace. Christopher moving out to Joshua Tree,
Mm-hmm.
I think that can't be overlooked because in LA it's just it's a man. I mean, you've spent a lot of time there. It's it's a grind,
And
but it's
Rogers wants to dedicate himself to it too.
Yeah, he does. And for Christopher going out to Joshua Tree, it freed up a lot of time for him. And I saw a big change in Christopher in his songwriting because
That's what they were saying yesterday.
yeah, I mean, it's got sort of that's where the Queens, Stone Age and that whole camp and and
The mojo's out
the
there.
mojo's out there. There's a I just call it a desert vibe, and it's not my necessarily favorite, and I love trees and streams and waters and mountains, but there is a particular vibe there that you just cannot get out of anywhere else. And I don't know, man, there's just an overall vibe to the album. It's a little dark at times, and it's not the no rain kind of happy thing. It's like we've been through the mud, the gutter. We've been through the mud, and but I'm very proud of it. Rogers, his situation. He's trying to do it, music full time.
Right.
The addition of Nathan. I'm just, Nathan and I played in a band before.
What's Nathan play?
Plays bass.
Okay.
That's one. I mean, he's one of those guys that he can play Chopin and Bach. He thinks in a different way, man. He's amazing, and he can play anything. He can play. He can play Charlie Parker note for note live records on guitar. I mean, the kid is phenomenal.
So he's bringing in another element.
He's bringing in another element, man. And him and I always had a dynamic. I knew the first time I played with him, I was like, man, there's something special about this cat.
And then now you're not the newest guy in the
And now
band.
I'm not the newest guy
Which
anymore.
is kind of cool.
It is cool.
Actually, I could see
really
how that
is.
works. I could see how that's actually significant.
Of course, man.
Yeah.
It's exactly the
'Cause
dynamic
it's kind of like
changes.
you can finally put that down. Like, I'm not the fucking
the new, yeah.
After a while, it's like, you know what? I'm not the fucking new guy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like-
And I felt that way for many years, man.
Yeah. Can we drop? I'm
Can
the
we
new
drop
guy?
it? Yeah.
It's been 12 years.
Yeah. It's cool in the beginning, but after a while,
Yeah,
you get, and you get to show him the ropes. Now he's the
Yeah.
youngest guy in the band, but so I think for me, LA was never my pace. Like I'd go down there record. I lived down there for a while. That's how I met
Where
the
are you
guys.
at now?
San Luis Obispo, man, Central Coast, and I love it.
Nice.
We have. I'm a hillbilly at heart, man. We have goats and chickens and
Oh, really?
ducks and horses.
So
And
when the end of times comes, I can come over to your house.
exactly.
Your survival. You got the survival on point.
Yeah, man, we got eggs for
You got
days.
some
And,
water buried in the backyard.
yeah, man, we got our own well, and we
Yeah.
love it, man. We love it. But it's just our kind of pace, man. And LA I've written some great songs in Los Angeles. I'm not, there are good things about it, but Joshua Tree, man, it's just that, again, a lot of great records have been recorded down there, and there is a vibe there. Christopher, I think, is writing some of the best music he's ever written. Truly. I mean, I'm not just saying that. We are, as artists, you know this is, dude, the newest song is the coolest song I've ever written, and 9 times out of 10, that's not true. But these songs, man, I just feel very great, and it, you know, we've had really great response to them. You know, it's not, people are just like, oh man, I want to hear the old stuff. Like, we're getting good response. So my idea, and I think I'm speaking for the rest of the guys on this. I think that we are trying to keep, you know, we obviously want to keep the name and appeal to our old fans, but we're kind of looking to rebrand this and. You know, there's a whole young generation that doesn't know.
One thing that's happening.
What's that?
I think that is happening.
Yeah.
Just even doing this is helping that.
Of course.
You know, like just like, you know, just putting your story out there. That invites people in, and it invites people into your universe, and
no doubt.
And it lets them get the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, because they know the story.
Exactly.
And that helps for them to like be able to take in your music, and you know.
Yeah, and just instead of just seeing it from
just
from
like,
an audience. Yeah.
You know.
And you know, I mean, I feel really good about it, and I think, you know, I think if we put everything into the band, it would be, because we all have so many other things going on, but because we have other things going on. It's like you know, electronica stuff. I'm into everything from, you know, Elliott Smith to you know, Pantera. Like, I loved it, and you know, I'd love to do some of that stuff in Blind Melon, but Blind Melon has a very specific sound, you know, that we kind of stick with, and but you know, at the same time though, where I think it doesn't sound anything like old Blind Melon, and I think, you know, some of the old fans are probably going to have a hard time with that. But again, it's like one of the things I love about like Beatles or Radiohead. They didn't keep regurgitating the same record.
You can't do anything without somebody having some kind of something.
Of course,
it's like,
exactly. You know, and for a long time, man, I spent many years, like I wasted many years of my life trying to please everyone.
Yeah,
I want to be liked. I want to, you know, please. And then after a while,
people-pleasing syndrome.
Yeah, man, and it comes from a good place.
And no, it doesn't.
No, yeah,
it doesn't. And I'm saying that for myself.
Yeah,
my people-pleasing doesn't come from a good place, because. Yeah, I mean,
it can be very codependent.
Like it comes. Yeah, what I consider people pleasing comes more from a fear place, I think.
Yeah, you probably you know,
there's
and aspects
why,
of that.
And that's
for sure.
why I think like it like when people become a people pleaser too much, then other people disrespect them.
Yeah,
and in a way, I think it's because it's because they're coming from an energy of fear.
Fear. Yeah, it took me years to realize that. Yeah,
and also it's coming from a good place, in that you want to be liked and you want to be nice to other people.
And you don't want to tell people no,
and
you know,
mixed.
and for me, that you're absolutely right on that. And you know, another addition to that is I don't like letting people down. But
or you don't like conflict either.
Or conflict,
especially if you come from a wild household where like conflict was like
that's
over the top.
Yeah,
then you become like sort of pathologically afraid of conflict.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's exactly right, man.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, these are all, like you were saying earlier, it's a work in progress.
But then when you have like an anchor in something like Jesus, then that gives you sort of power, like in a way, to just be self-sufficient, you know.
Absolutely.
It's a power source.
It's the foundation. There's absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's once you realize that this is not really about having a religion with him, it's about having a relationship with him. It's two different things.
And do you pray like every day?
I pray every day
when you wake up,
absolutely.
Or all through the day?
All through the day. Just you know, I'll say it first thing in the morning. I give thanks, give gratitude, because I'm truly blessed to be alive and to be here. You know, we could have ended up like so many of our peers, and
and we still can, dude.
Of course.
That's why it's like good to keep praying, and good to like, you know, have conversations such as this, to like, because then we identify, and it's like inspiring, you know. Do you ever mess with Ho'oponopono? I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. It's like a mantra prayer from Hawaii, that it's like just those 4 phrases, and sometimes I repeat those. Like,
wait, what are they?
I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you.
That's it.
I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And then whatever is like sort of hurting you at a time, or like aggravating you, or if you have a conflict with somebody, you
go
like
back to that
within your own self. You sort of apply that prayer mantra to
Yeah.
that situation, and kind of take responsibility for the fact that it's in your field of consciousness. And then you sort of clear it, and then that way sort of inspiration can come in, or the voice of the divine can come in and, and guide you, because you're not all wrapped up in this conflict.
That's
you kind
it.
of like resolve it. It's a good tool to resolve conflict.
Yeah, it's really kind of the same thing I do. I don't, speak that certain one, but it's really the same thing.
There's different. Which ones do you do?
I have a relationship with him, so it's I don't really necessarily set with any specific prayer. It's just it's what comes off my heart at any given time. And
but give me an example of that for like people who are struggling.
So
maybe like because that can help people.
That's man.
You have the light, so it's like how do you?
So for example, that's a great question. So yesterday before the show, I literally got on my knees and I was just like, dear Father, please let this day go well. Please protect me from temptation, drugs, alcohol, all of those things.
The fucking jewel. Excuse my language.
No, the jewel.
Yeah.
Put the armor of God around me, and the shield, like Apostle Paul talked about, the armor of God, and just protect me from darkness and all of those things, and those something along those lines. Just keep me safe and protect me. And and then to more personal things for me, it's like let me remember the lyrics.
That's a good one for me.
Yeah, keep my voice, well, and little things like that. But just depending on what I'm doing that day, it's like having a really good friend, and like right here, and I'm talking to you, except I'm having a conversation with God, and just keep me safe throughout the day. And the other thing I find myself doing all the time, man, is I'll be driving. I'm like, man, this day is incredible. It's beautiful, not a cloud in the sky, and the hawks and everything. And like, I'm very just grateful of being alive. We're blessed. And it's like, sometimes it's so easy to get caught up in the things we don't have,
100%.
or money, or this house or that. And it's like, I think, correct me if I'm wrong. It was Nelson Mandela, right? Didn't he spend years in prison? And
I think so.
To the point where he was very content of just being. It's like, it doesn't matter where you're at. You could be stuck in a prison cell, but as long as you have this here, you're going to be okay. And I'm very grateful for the little things. Like, for example, like I would walk outside, the next morning hungover, feel like shit. Just I wasn't paying attention
to the moment.
In the moment, it's like, oh man, I gotta go to the bar. Okay, I gotta buy this. I gotta get this drink. I gotta try to find this and that. And
you're chasing.
You're a slave to your head, man. You're exactly.
Yeah,
you're
like
always
a dog
chasing.
on a leash.
Yes, you're a slave, man.
It sucks.
It's a slave to addiction.
It's true.
And it's a horrible way to live. And I lived that way for many, many years of my life. So we'd be in, like Barcelona or somewhere beautiful, and I couldn't really take in the true beauty, where now I'll be in my backyard, cup of coffee, got my dog playing frisbee, and just like, thank you, Father. I truly thank you. I'm just so grateful for everything you've done. And I think gratitude is key, and it's huge, man. And it kind of goes back with your
more of it.
Well, your prayer, just saying those 4 things over. Anything that can kind of you're putting your faith and belief into something greater than yourself. And you're saying, look, I can't do it on my own. I need your guidance. I need your help.
It's something about asking for help, because when I've done that in my life, when I've asked God like earnestly for help, it's always come.
And power of prayer.
It's always come. It really has. But but usually I have to get to some sort of place of desperation to actually really authentically ask.
I think a lot of people are that way. My sponsor said something great, and I use this analogy all the time. I love it. And when he explained this to me, it just made a lot of sense. And he said, he said, God has a volume knob. And the more that we live the way that he wants us to live, the more that we live selflessly, and for him, the more that volume knob gets turned up. And
That's real true.
And the power of prayer is so huge. You just said it, dude. I could spend 5 hours here just talking about the prayers that get answered. I mean, it's a little thing. It's incredible. But the more that you turn away from him and start doing things your own way,
Turning it down.
that volume knob gets turned down.
So true, dude.
It's not that he doesn't love you. He's just like, okay, if you're gonna do your thing your way.
Yeah.
When you're ready, I'll be here. That volume knob will get turned up.
I need to turn it back up.
Turn it back up.
The Juul turns that shit down, man. I'm telling you, that's my struggle
The
lately.
Juul!
The nicotine's
The
been my
devil.
struggle, because weed I've been like dipping here and there, but weed I can really just dip into.
Yeah, you're better with weed than especially as a singer.
Yeah, I don't want, and weed's no big deal. Like for me,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
has
yeah.
been, and it can trigger. But like lately, it's just like, you know, I get a bit of the fear. Like it's not a great thing, full stop for me. So it's easy to not smoke weed. Like I don't
Yeah.
buy weed. I don't have weed at my
Yeah,
house. Like,
yeah, yeah.
Every once in a while, like Rogers had the thing, and I was like hitting it while doing a podcast. That's one thing. But the nicotine,
It's a whole nother ball
dude,
game.
that one is like, I gotta like. Well, yeah, but he's
Yeah.
not even trying to stop. Like I'm not trying to have that. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
but-
nicotine, man. I think I know fellow heroin addicts that they got off tar before they quit smoking cigarettes.
Well,
are
dude,
hard,
have you
man.
ever read? Oh, here's another one with Napoleon Hill called "Outwitting the Devil." There's this book called "Outwitting the Devil." You should check this
I will.
out. You might like it.
Matter of fact, when this thing wraps up, I'm gonna have you write that down.
Yeah, it's called "Outwitting the Devil,"
Okay.
and basically it within the book, and you can get the audio book because there's a great audio presentation of this interview
Okay.
with the devil. He has this interview with the devil, and it's like it was from the 30s or something that
Oh,
this came
cool.
out, and the devil within the interview says, "Don't worry, you won't publish this book anyway," like, and all this wild shit. Like it's like weirdly like he is channeling like that side of the thing.
Yeah.
And the funny thing
interesting,
is he never did publish the book. He was dead before it got published. And in fact, his wife even had to die before that book even came out. Like it
Oh,
came out
that's- wow,
a
that's
long
incredible.
time after. And when you like check out the interview, it's crazy and it's very informative. And within the interview, he asked the devil, like, what's your favorite poison, alcohol or cigarettes? Meaning which one fucks up people worse?
Yeah.
And this was in a time in the 30s
When everybody-
when doctors would even tell
Yeah.
people to smoke because
Yeah.
it was good for you.
Yeah.
But within this interview, the devil says, "Oh, by far cigarettes are my favorite thing that fucks up people more than booze."
Yeah. Oh wow.
And
Interesting.
the reason what is because, and it wasn't because of cancer or this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
It was because they create drift. Well, they create what's called drift, and so the devil gets in not by like big things of things, but by the little, but with the
things.
little things.
Interesting.
Like by like just drifting, just like, oh, I'm not going to get up and do my run because I'm going to sit here and smoke. Like, you know, it changes your perspective a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm even
Ew,
messing
that's-
around
wow.
with the Juul again.
Yeah.
I'm like even seeing that. I'm like seeing, oh man, this little drift is
It's
coming,
just-
and it's not crazy, and it's not like I've gone off the deep end
Yeah.
or anything like that. I haven't, and,
Yeah.
and I'm cool. But it's like I can tell I'm not
The drift.
on my 100% game
Yeah.
either, and
Yeah.
that bugs me. Mm-hmm. And it's good that it bugs me, but it's like weird because it's
Yeah.
like I gotta kind of like flip back to the other.
Yeah, that's a
You know,
really
but
interesting point.
You'll like
It's
that interview because
unwitting the devil.
outwitting the devil,
Outwitting the devil.
and there's all kinds of like gems in it like that, where it's like you just go like, whoa, that's a trip. It's just like getting it from his perspective.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like know thy enemy.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
like it's really and to the degree you believe he was really channeling that voice. I mean, it's pretty like epic that he probably was channeling that voice.
What was interesting
You know,
about
it
that
seems like
that's again, man. It's like that's a really good point. It's the little things. He kind of slide. He's not going to make it obvious. He's
Yeah.
going to kind of the drift. Actually,
drift.
that's a great idea for a song
because
too, man.
yeah, the drift would be a good, because then it's like it invites in all the chaos.
Yeah. Very
You know,
true.
because you do have to be like super on your game in this world, because there are all these
Distractions
like, and it's coming from all kinds of different ways, from, you know, if it's toxic relationships, if it's media, if it's like, you know, beer around you all the time, if it's like, you know, health issues, crisis, like chaos is coming.
That's it.
So you have to like keep your
you got to be grounded.
Yeah.
That's
and you have
much
to
more
have
important
tools.
to be. You have to have the tools, man.
And prayer is an epic one.
Absolutely. So what's interesting about that is after I had my experience last year, I was like, all I need is me, God, and the Bible, and that's all I need.
Right.
And as I was talking to what ended up being my sponsor, he's like, because I wanted to share my testimony, and he's like, before you can start sharing your testimony, you have to go through the 12-step program. And I thought, okay, that's just a means to get to the end. I'll do the 12 steps. I don't need it, but I'll do it, and I learned really quick, like, I absolutely needed it because, again, it goes back to what you were talking about, the tools. Yeah. Learning the tools. And I started to do that in these 12-step meetings going, oh, damn, as I would hear these other people sharing, like, damn, dude, I do that. Oh, crap, I also have that problem. And it's not just addicts and it's not just alcoholics. There's people with codependency problems in there, pornography, all walks of life. But we're
all out here addicted to something.
We're all
man.
addicted to
it's
something.
All the same shit.
And you said it a while ago, man. You're getting hit from every angle, and if you don't have that foundation, and if you're not grounded in something greater than ourselves,
purpose-driven motivation,
we're like, oh, I'll go that. Oh, I'm going to do this and do that, and it's. I mean, I lived that way for decades, man, and it was it was chaos. And, but yeah, man.
And you got to stay humble to know that it's right back there, right? And
that's key.
It can be like your reality again on a dime.
That's it. It's like Jesus says, the humble will be exalted, the exalted will be humbled. And humility is so key. You're right about that, man.
So do you read the Bible, or do you have like books on tape with the Bible, or what? How do you get your Bible info?
Yeah, for me, man, I
straight up just old school. Here's my Bible. I read it.
Yeah, well,
like that's a hard read.
The Old Testament is definitely hard.
It's like it's not a page turner.
Yeah, well, I agree partially to that.
I want somebody to give me like Bible for dummies. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, if you're reading the King James version, it is very hard. For me, for the viewers.
Do you straight read it, or do you have like a book on tape?
I read it. I try to read it just about every day, and then when I'm on the road, I have.
Do you read it randomly, or do you like pay one page after the other?
When I first picked it up, I started one. Genesis, and I went boring, and I went straight from Genesis all the way to Revelations, and I went, what the hell is this?
Oh, so Revelations is like the page turner?
Well, it's the very end, but if you don't know the meat and taters, yeah.
You went all the way through.
I mean, I got about 3 pages into Genesis, and I went, this is boring. I want the crutch of it.
Yeah,
so
can we get to the point?
Can we get to the point? So I went to Revelations at the very end, and I was like, if you've ever read Revelations, it's just like,
I don't think I have.
It's wild, and you have to know like Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and all the old prophets to really understand. Revelation. So what I did as a recommendation is I went back to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, just the Gospels. And for me, that's all there, man. It's like, Jesus says.
Where's that page?
So this New Testament. So you have Old Testament, you have New Testament.
Yeah, see, it's too complicated. That's why I want Bible for Dummies.
Well, they have those.
Yeah. Okay.
But the one I use though, and this may help you guys, it's called the Life Recovery Bible.
Okay, that's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
Is there is one that's like the Life Recovery Bible where it kind of like goes, hey, check this out first.
Exactly.
This will get you into it.
Yeah, and it also for fellow addicts and people in recovery, it like we were kind of talking about earlier, you can take the 12 steps
and apply it
to the Bible.
So it's called the Life Recovery Bible.
The Life Recovery Bible.
Where do you get that? Is that on iTunes or on like the Apple bookstore?
Yeah, you can get on apps, iTunes apps.
I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna you gotta show me that after.
Yeah. And then if you want the actual tangible book, it comes in a green cover. I love it because it just applies what.
Do they have it in audiobook or no?
I think they do.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, man.
I like audiobooks.
Yeah, and also too, you may have been reading, the King James version, and that's thou, and we don't talk that way anymore.
Yeah,
so you get the new international version, which is
right.
more how we speak today.
Right.
And what I love about the Life Recovery is so you don't lose the original wording or translation. It tells you what the original King James version is. So there's not any misinterpretations there. You're getting the meat and taters and what it really is, but it's the way that we speak today. And
Bible 2.0.
Yeah, exactly. Bible 2.0. And for anybody who's first getting into it, I would for me, my opinion is I would read the New Testament 2 or 3 times and then go to the Old Testament. For me, Old Testament it's hard. It's hard to read at times. I mean, it just is. But yeah, man, I try to do that. Prayer time, meditation, it goes hand in hand with me. I try to do that every morning. I have a routine. I go hiking 3 days a week, 2 days a week. I'll split it up. I'll go run on the beach or go to the gym. And it kind of goes back into that where we were talking earlier, the physical aspect of it. And discipline, I look at, Roger's always kind of jokes with me, and he's like, you're like a Navy SEAL now. And I kind of have that mentality.
I have that mentality too.
It's a good mentality to have,
I love
man.
it, man. I get up and I run, and I go to yoga almost every day.
Yeah, man. It clears your head. You got to have it.
Dude, I need it.
Absolutely. And then for us, man, we a lot of our dopamine and serotonin was destroyed, man.
Yeah. But you can reset that.
You can reset it, and that's the beauty and the magic behind it, man. But health, man. I'm all about it, and it's just a better way to live, man. It really truly is.
Word up.
Yeah, baby.
Well, dude, this has been awesome.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys for having me, man. It means the world to me, man. Thank you.
It was great to hear your testimony.
Thank you, man.
It was beautiful, to be honest.
Thank you, brother. Hopefully we can reach, even if it's just one person, man.
It
somebody
definitely
struggling.
will. Definitely. It's
one.
just nice to even just talking about that life is a battle and a struggle. That alone is helpful to people, because I know for me, when I just go into a 12-step meeting and when I do and hear other people share about the struggle that is life, that's where I feel spirit, because I'm like, it's not just me and my little chaotic universe. Like, everyone's out here dealing with
the same kind of things,
with this thing.
Yeah,
right? So
it's
it's like when you know that and you're not alone in an uncaring universe, and it's all you, and
there's something comforting
all
in
of
that.
us. That's very comforting.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
it's a lot of people will be able to identify with what you were saying. I did.
Cool, man. That makes that warms my heart, man. Truly.
So
thank you guys,
thanks,
man.
brother.
Truly, thank you, man.
Yeah. Hi, this is Joseph Arthur. Thanks for checking out Come to Where I'm From. Please support us on Patreon, patreon.com/come to where I'm from. We are an independent podcast, and any contributions you can make are greatly appreciated.